Okay, folks, good evening. Let's go ahead and get started. I guess it's a little earlier than normal. I've got something I probably have to do in about 2 hours, so I didn't want to screw around too much. But we're going to go back to this Martyr 3 build here, Plastic Soldier Company Martyr 3. And let's clean up some of these parts. Of course, there's all these little pieces that don't necessarily go to anything. They're just extra things that get cut off. Flash. Bits of sprue. And hopefully we get some folks in here and we can have some interaction. I was actually going to make a video, but I only have about 2 hours, so, and I got to go do something in about 2 hours, so I can always make the video when I get back. It's not going to be a really long one, but if I do that now, I won't get any of this done, and I'll also by the time I get it uploaded and everything, the time will probably be done. So, got some folks visiting from out of town. Want to go say hi to them a little later. So, okay, this is the little. This actually has a kind of unusual in most open top self-propelled guns that are German. It has a little rain shield there. Not much of one, but it's something. It's something. And okay, we did that one. Let's clean this up as well. Happy Monday evening. Hey, happy Monday evening. Rick, have you I'm going to ask you because Nordic isn't on here. Nordic would probably be the one that would know. I'm certain, well, I'm not sure you've done this because you seem to collect games, not sell them, but have you ever sold anything to Noble Knight? Nordic was telling me that he sold a few things and got quite a bit of money. I want to see if he had an idea about how much they're paying for it, because you can go on their site and look at like old games. Do you have? And I'm just wondering what what it is. If they sell something for $60, do they give you 30? Do they give you at least 30 so they're doubling their money? Because normal retail, or at least normal retail in the early 90s was you bought something. If it's something you sold, you have not, but I've seen their buy list with prices. You mean like stuff that they're particularly looking for and how much they're paying for it? Is that somewhere on their site? Normal retail is if the retail for an item is $10, usually they get it for $6. That's how much it used to be. So the markup is 40%. That's like back when I used to listen to talk radio. I don't listen to any radio at all, but they're always like, buy gold, buy gold. Yeah, okay. But then when you want to sell it, they don't want to give you anything for it. So, it's like, man, the housing, a couple of years ago, man, the housing market's great. You should sell your house. The problem is you have to buy your house in the same damn market. So unless you're sitting on like 6 houses, or hell, even 2, it doesn't make sense to sell your house. You're just going to have to buy another one overpriced. Very bottom of their sell trade page. Okay, so there's like the greatest hits, things that they're looking for, huh? I could have bought a couple things at the flea market and sold them back to him, probably made a profit, but that's just too much work, you know. That's like bad form. That's almost like, what am I working on? Well, I'm working on, hey, these Czech 38s, but we're going to make Martyr 3s out of them. So, did I do the right thing, Joe, not buying that game? The Excalibur game, which does let you submit a list of things you have and get a quote from them, but even below that is the Knights Most Wanted, how much they'll give you in store credit. I'm fine taking credit for it. You know, I mean, they have enough different things. There's a guy that actually offered me to give me a game that he didn't sell. And I'm like, I didn't take it because it's like, I'm not going to play it, you know? I mean, I appreciated it, but, you know, I'm not going to like take something and then not do anything with it when it can go to somebody else. I'm just not very motivated to, I have to save all of my energy that I have left for this rule set. But I've played it before. It's not a crack your head open type of rules. It all makes sense. And it's actually pretty easy to find some stuff in it, but or at least I remember it was. But what I'm having trouble is figuring out what in the hell this even is. What this item is. I don't know what it goes on. It doesn't look like it goes here. It's got a hole. It's got a, so maybe it goes, I can always post the question online. You know, this Plastic Soldier Company, I really like their stuff, but their directions are a bit not very good. I don't know what the hell this goes on. And it's not in the instructions. It's not in any of the pictures. Yeah, it is. I'm being goofy. I'm being goofy. It's on the top of the Martyr. Because you can build the Martyr 3. Let's see if I can get it. This one on the left here, with just basically like a piece of metal that goes on it. But then in this picture, here it is with like a tarp over it. I might actually build one of them as a Martyr 3 then, because my other one, it looks different. I know I definitely want to do two of them as the H, this version, and they're going to be in Armor Dark Yellow. Or Dunkelgelb. Armor Dark Yellow is what we used to call it way back when we used polyester paints. That's what the polyester paint was called. German Armor Dark Yellow. If you told them, oh, you mean Dunkelgelb, people would be like, what? This is the late 80s. We don't know what the hell you're talking about. Polyester. That's the first paints, those and the Tamiya paints were the first paints that were like acrylic. Vids backwards, of course. Of course, oof, Woman Slayer. Well, you're just picking on the easy ones, aren't you? Hey, there's some women that could kick your ass. Mine too, but they gotta catch me first. Unfortunately, I'm not super fast either. Polyester paints, those were great, absolutely. I still had one of them alive, and it was the one I used for the basing on my ships. And it was actually, I think it was at Railroad Colors. And it was, I want to say, BAR blue. It was like a, you know, almost like a Prussian blue, but it had a really nice hue to it. It's easy to make Rick laugh. You wouldn't be able to game with me, Rick. You'd be in stitches the whole time. Hey, what can I say? I want to have a good time. And some of the people at the show didn't want to have a good time. I had forgotten that there's some folks that go to game conventions, and I don't really know why. Because they're not social. They kind of have a hissy fit all the time, even when they're winning. And I've just gotten to the point where I'm just going to avoid certain people. Hey, I don't have to run games anymore. I see somebody playing a game I don't like. I'm not gonna join that game. And no, it's not on first glance. It's, people that, oh, that guy again. And it's not most people. And then I joined another game and everybody was awesome. And I didn't know anybody. Well, I knew one person, but I never played a game with them. And everybody had the right attitude. That was that game. Ooh, this stuff's weird. Well, it's definitely better than how it was before. It's almost like rubbery. There were some strange stories of gamer moments from Salute 2. Yeah. I saw very few videos of the Salute thing just because I've been busy. But the ones I did see, I'm like, if somebody says that was somewhere in the U.S., you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It's not like you guys were like walking on the left side of a hallway or something like that. There's just no point in being nasty with people that share the same hobby that we have. There's just not enough of us. And don't get me wrong, I'm fine with people being nerdy. There's some strange cats at these shows. All right, let's get us a new piece of sandpaper. I've got to switch these glasses out, or I got to get like 12 inches from what I'm looking at to see what exactly is going on. Thank goodness they have this stuff locally. But I didn't get any Tufts, so I'm going to have to mail order some. Well, if I want them to match the other stuff that I have. And I'm not out of them yet. You love that plastic soldier logo like it's a sprue. Oh, this? Yeah, it's kind of cool. Nice, I agree. I never really noticed it. Yeah. To be honest with you, you know the thing I like about them the least? Their name. It's kind of deceptive, like Plastic Soldier Company. Like, okay, can you make it a little bit more generic? Yeah, I like those kits from Plastic Soldier Company. Oh, you don't know who they're called? What the name of it is? No, it's Plastic Soldier Company. I know they made of plastic, but what's the name of the company? You just keep going on forever. I don't know. They could have come up with something better than that. PSC. I've never noticed it, Rick. You're right, it's pretty cool. But then, I get excited about things that maybe other people don't get excited about. You know? Like the The most exciting part of having your own company is coming up with its name and its logo. You know, if you have your own country, what's the most exciting part? Naming it and coming up with a flag for it. Speaking of coming up with a flag for your country, any of you guys ever play? What was that game where you could run your own country? And it was like a really simple game. It would like ask you questions or whatever. Um, oh man, um, fake. God, what was it called? Hopefully, I'm about to hit it big with the Rome Total War board game. I don't know. I just that seems like a cash grab to me. Like just play the computer game. I just don't see how it could. I forgot I have that one. I played Rome Total War, the first one, a lot, and then I played a couple of different mods a lot. Well, I didn't play it a lot. I didn't. It's not like I sat around and played every nation. There's just some nations that just don't excite me. Rome Total Realism was one that I played, and Europa Barbarorum. But the problem with those games is they're fun to play, but something cool will happen and there's nobody to share it with. You know? The lad that wrote Mortem et Gloriam is designing it. He seems like a really nice guy. I don't remember what his last name, Simon something or another. He seems like a really nice guy. He showed up to run it at Historicon. I think I saw him only one person playing it. There's definitely some. I think I saw some videos on how the cards work, and it's almost like a game within the game. The lad, man, he's much older than you. You're a young guy. You know, one thing I hate is when somebody says, "Well, thank you, young man." You know, it's almost like dismissive. So I think the next time I'm going to hear somebody that says that, it's always a redneck that says that. You know, thank you, young man. Okay, you old geezer. You know, usually the person tells me is not more than 5 years older than me. They just look like shit because they're an alcoholic. Hey, Glenn. Okay, you ready for this? Once you hit about 35, like metabolism just goes out the window. Or at least for me. I don't even feel, I still feel like I'm 25 years old. It's just, you can't shed weight and stuff like that. It's just difficult. Your metabolism just disappears. This convention, I lost 4 freaking pounds. I wasn't even trying. But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat healthy, and I went and I'm like, I'm not gonna go to the freaking IHOP because it's overpriced, greasy, their coffee sucks. So I just went. There was a little Starbucks there. I had a coffee or a tea, and and one little thing. And then for breakfast, they actually had some Caesar salads that weren't huge. Like I don't mind eating salad, but it was huge. But I like a big salad. They were kind of small, and it had the Caesar stuff on the side. So I just dipped it very little. And between doing that, I can't believe I lost 4 freaking pounds. Great. Well, that's 4 months away from me. Well, it's not a big. Dudes don't care how much they weigh. Dudes don't care about how old they are. You know, it's not important. It's not that important. We don't have a ticking time clock. Okay, so we can safely glue this bastard right here. Okay. Nordic, there you are. Okay, perfect. I'll ask you too. Since you have sold things at Noble Knight, do you feel like you have a grasp of how much they offer you? In other words, you can go on there and see, oh, they're selling this item for $60. And it's about the condition that mine is. Do they offer you like 30? The Nordster. It's the Nordburglar. Come on, Rick. I got to get a laugh from you on that one. Ticking time clock. I stepped right in front of the tail end of that. The dudes don't have a ticking time clock. I mean, unless you have a terminal illness, which I hope none of you guys have. You know, we don't care how old we are. You know? You know what I find really strange? And I'm not trying to bait you into anything, okay? I'm really not, because I'm not a very nosy person. 45-60% of items for store credit. Okay, well, I'm fine with the store credit. They got lots of cool stuff. So, and I'm not trying to out anybody, and don't feel like I'm going, because I'm not really a nosy person, but as much as I've interacted with you, Nordic, I don't have a clue what your name is. And that's fine. I'm not trying to out you, you know. You know, different people have different things that they want to keep secluded. Maybe you can't pass a background check. I don't know. I'm not trying to out you. It's just funny because you're like a regular, but you're here every time, and I appreciate you. Okay, let's glue this thing down. Michael. Okay. Well, if you feel like you need to, you can always send me a private message and tell me what your last name is. And I will not say it out in public. You don't have to. Mike of the North. Mike Snow. One of the discussions that we had this convention amongst our group is we were talking about John Wick. John Wick came up, okay? And we're talking about, how good the John Wick movie is. Here's the part where I piss people off. I said, I'm not a fan of Keanu Reeves. I understand he's a really nice person in real life, which honestly, that's great because, you know, it is Hollyweird, okay? Yeah, I like it too. I like that we talk about pretty much anything. I appreciate that he's a nice guy. I just don't connect with him. You know, it's kind of like, you know, the actor that plays Jon Snow. He might be the best person in real life. He has negative charisma for me. You know, I can't connect with him. He doesn't do anything for me. And that was the same way when I was watching Game of Thrones. I can't. I don't understand why anybody would like Jon Snow. He just has no charisma. So, but that's fine. That's the cool thing about that show is there's so many different characters that there's got to be something that there's something there for everybody. Now let's take a look at this pack 40 because this literally is a pack 40. There is, I don't remember exactly what it does. Let's see if I can point to it with this. This piece right here, let me see if I can get closer with it. This piece right here that's like a bracket, looks like it's got a hole in it. And it's not filled in. I'm going to check and make sure because that looks like something that I need to drill out. Actually, both of these, although this one's not going to go straight through, so we're going to leave it alone. But this one you could go straight through on. So I'm going to check that. I believe that needs to be drilled out. I don't love, but I don't hate the John Wick movies. The first one's great for the gunplay. You know, using cover and reloading and stuff like that. Yeah, I haven't seen the new one either. As long as you're glorious, it doesn't really matter what it is. Just finishing dinner. Ah, nice. An early dinner eater. I like it. I am very unlike the people of the homeland. The people of the homeland, Spain, don't eat until like 9:30 at night. Sorry, dude. That's way too late. I'm a 5 p.m. dinner person. Yeah, the gunplay is great. And you know, the thing is there's just a lot of movies that have terrible gunplay. You know? And Keanu supposedly went to either already knew how to do that stuff or he trained with professional people that, you know, did the shooting sports and did all that, you know, he did all those events and you know, I'd want to do that too. That's more fun than acting. You know? Pack 40. No, I don't need the barrel end. Okay, here's a picture of one. I bet that's drilled out. Well, it's not supposed to. That's just a little thing you can do that just adds a little bit more. Oh, here's a picture on it that has a crooked spider on it. Yep, it's drilled out. So's the other one, but the other one goes up against solid plastic, so we're not going to even bother with that. We'll just paint it like it's missing there. You have yours at 3 p.m. How? Wow. You don't skip lunch? You eat dinner late mainly because intestinal stuff. Yeah, you got to go whatever goes with that, you know? Drill it out. That's right. Here we go, folks. Yeah, I need to drill them both out. But this smaller one goes right up against this piece of plastic. And which is, if I do that, then I end up going through the back of the breech. And we're not going to do that. So just the big one. Let's see if we can find the center here. Oh, geez. Almost won't. Well, let's still do this. It makes it a little easier. And it's already kind of thin anyways. A little bit more here, and that's it. I got to cut out about 8:30. Got to go visit some folks. They're in out of town. They're staying with my mom. They're actually my mom's friends, and they're basically old enough to be my parents. Well, he is. The lady would not be able to be my mom unless she was from Kentucky. Small lunch and a decent sized breakfast. Okay. Brekkie. Just sent you a link to a real martyr that shows that part drilled out. Okay. Brekkie. I know lots of people that skip breakfast. And if I'm going to skip breakfast, why am I getting up? You know, breakfast is like your reward for not dying in your sleep. Oh, where's this thing sit at? Oh, nice. Okay. It sits like that. Now, I really don't need to let this rotate any bit because honestly, I'm not going to be able to rotate it much. Let's see, it's going to have a cover. I want to be able to get black paint in here. I'm going to glue it together. I can get anything anywhere I can see. Most important meal of the day. Just ask the hobbits. Skip breakfast. I eat at 2 after waking up. It impacts my intestinal woes. Try a few hours after waking to eat something light. Have you any luck on the job, man? You got to be able to land with so many work from home things. You got to be able to land something you work from home. Ignorance of British culture. Is that British culture? That's like saying if you don't understand something, it's like in Fast and Furious, you don't know American culture. 11's is, that's when I freaking eat lunch. At 11's is something, for sure. That started way back in the day when I worked retail. And what would happen is if you went to lunch at 11, I mean at noon, you couldn't get anywhere. Like everybody was trying to take lunch at the same time. Doesn't really work. Job front's pretty bad in this area. I found a number of possibilities to apply to, just going through them now to see if I have the qualifications. You know, they just put qualifications on there so they limit the entrance. Otherwise, you know, everybody would be applying to it. And some people still do. I will get like resumes that come in through email that are like not even requested. Like we're not even hiring people and they just randomly send, you know, things. We're like a family owned business where the son's basically the president of the company. And they would always send this thing, you know, position looking for president. I'm like, you're not going to get that one, pal. You obviously have no clue who the hell you're even applying to. Now, I probably will not put this little thing on the top because that is going to make it easier to paint. I don't know, maybe I will do it because it's not, man, these things fit well together. Yeah, we'll glue this thing on later. Let's at least take a look at it. Cute little thing. Too bad it's a little Nazi bastard, but. You know, if it wasn't a little Nazi bastard, it would have never been made because it never would have gone into the war. Okay, we have a muffler. Not around here, it isn't, but people make names for any time they eat something. You're the president and owner of Bikini Island, the greatest place on earth. What, men can't wear bikinis? That's, not on my island, they don't. All right, I gotta tell this story. You guys will appreciate this. So my daughter was like, let's see, how old was she? She's about to be 18. She was probably about 8 when this happened. So about 10 years ago, we go on a cruise and we go to this place called St. Martin. And St. Martin is half French, half Dutch. or half. It's a half ex-Dutch colony, and the French part is actually part of France. It's not a colony or whatever. They have real police. They have real gendarmes. They carry MP5s, but they're on mopeds. But anyhow, we did this tour one time. We'd never gone around the whole island, and we did this tour on Jeeps, which unfortunately were not stick shift. You know, because there'd be too many stupid people that don't know how to drive them, and that would be a problem. But anyway, so we rent these Jeeps, and I mean, you know, like a Jeep. What's the standard Jeep called? Wranglers. Some people find that callow woman hot. Which callow woman? The artist woman who's a communist? Frida Kahlo? Oh, some people find that Kahlo. Oh, the one that plays the actress? You mean Salma Hayek? Or the actual Frida Kahlo? She's a communist. I don't find communists attractive. Sorry. What are you into? I'm for people taking my freedom away. I don't like you. So we go on this Jeep tour that goes all over and we're supposed to go to this beach. So it stops at this beach on the French side, and it's a nude beach, okay? Or it stops right here, and there's literally like some rocks, and the guy says, okay, from here that way is a normal beach, and from here that way is a nude beach, you know, or clothing optional, whatever. And the normal beach side was covered in seaweed. So my wife's like, you know, let's just go over to the nude beach side. I mean, we're not going to be nude because, you know, that's not really my thing. And that's not really our thing. And we go over there, and there's like literally one person on the nude side, and it's a dude. And here's what's really strange. It wasn't that he was nude. It's that he had one article of clothing on. And the article of clothing that he had on was, just think about it. You could take one article of clothing to the beach. What does he pick? A hat, okay? I don't know about you, but there's parts of my body that would burn a lot easier than the top of my head, even if I was bald, if I was at a nude beach. I'm just saying, okay? But anyway, so he's wearing a hat, got no clothes on other than the hat. And what became really strange was he was eating tomatoes out of, you know, those little containers that are like made out of like net, you know, almost like and you have the little cherry tomatoes. He's just popping cherry tomatoes in there, walking up and down the, you know, he was in the water, but it was only up to like calf high, you know. And that's when I, you know, that's the first thing I thought of is, you know, if don't have any clothes on, there's only one thing on the menu that I'm eating. Okay, and that's it. I'm going to leave that right there. But it didn't freak my daughter out. It didn't freak my daughter out or anything, because, you know, the reality is wasn't doing anything inappropriate, you know, while he was walking around naked, you know. Might have been self-conscious about his hair. Oh, man. You know, I actually don't see what the big deal is about what do you call it? Topless. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal to have, you know, a beach that's, you know, topless. I wouldn't get overly excited about it, you know. Any big Cinco de Mayo plans? What kind of Mexican do you think I am? That's actually the anniversary of my engagement. We got engaged on Cinco de Mayo. Okay, Rick, what's Cinco de Mayo mean? What's the significance of Cinco de Mayo? Because it's not what it should be. Or it shouldn't be what it is. There we go. Topless beaches are a great place. Just pull up a lounge chair and enjoy the view. Am I allowed to Google? No. No, and you're not stupid for not knowing because it shouldn't be what it is. No, because that's what it should be. Mexican Independence Day should be Cinco de Mayo. It is not. Mexican Independence Day, I believe, is the 17th of September, which, of course, or something like that, which is the day independence from Spain. Cinco de Mayo is and it might be more things than this, but from what I understand, it is the anniversary of them beating the French in battle. You're thinking, well, what are the French doing in Mexico? That you'll have to Google because it's kind of complicated, and I'll probably give you the short version, which is probably not going to have a lot of detail, but Mexico found itself in a lot of credit problems. No, that's Dia de los Muertos. Yeah, that's the November 1st, which is Festival of the Dead, which I think is only a big deal for the Mexicans. It's not like a big deal for the Spanish culture or necessarily other countries. I think it's just that's just like a Mexican thing. But they found themselves in the 1860s in a lot of credit problems, and they weren't going to pay back loans to the European countries. And so basically, the Europeans kind of put something together to take over and get their money back. They found you'll get the right answer if you Google it, but I'm just kind of giving you I'm going to kind of give you the gist of it to see if it's something you're even interested in looking at. The cousin of Napoleon III, I think it was his cousin, was this guy named Maximilian of Austria. No, and he was he was related to Napoleon III, and he was related to Franz Joseph of Austria, who was on the throne a long ass time. You know, he died in the middle of World War One, but he was on the throne a long time. So they get him together, and they give him a French army, and he goes over there to take over and basically do a coup on the Mexicans. At that time, the Mexicans, I believe, had the people that were in charge were some folks that were pro peasant. Okay, so they weren't like the guys that were the 3% that were controlling everything. The rich people controlling everything. I think it was more of a populist type thing. So he went in there and they took over. And but somewhere along the line, there was a battle where the peasant army defeats the French. And the French are only 200 or 300 type of people, kind of thing like that. But that's what the big deal is. So you got me. I don't follow those things. Yeah, there's no reason why you should know. I mean, they don't teach real history. You don't teach normal history in schools here. Why would they teach something obscure like that? So it's definitely not something I would say that, oh, you're a dummy for not knowing, But you would think it would be Mexican Independence Day, but it's not. Fantastic wargaming period. Did I get it mostly right? I think I mostly got it right. That's the gist. Enough to be like, oh, I'll look into that. I think it's an interesting period. I just don't like the American Civil War. I have an aversion to it. And Wargames Foundry makes some freaking awesome looking figures for it. And I don't even do 28s, and they're beautiful. I don't know who the sculptor is, but they're freaking amazing figures. So basically, the French go in there and take out. They put an Austrian kind of monarch in there, and he's in power for 4 or 5 years or whatever. And then he gets ousted, and they execute him. They execute him and his wife. Yeah. That at least kind of gives you the gist of what it's about. Found something on YouTube you may like. A channel doing war games in 15 millimeter based in Somalia in 1940. Ooh, Somaliland. I was watching something about that. Obviously, it wasn't that channel, but it was, the Italians were actually successful. Like, really? Okay, I think this guy's done. So we're going to build another one just like it. Yeah, let's build another one just like it. And this thing is, don't want that rolling off, hitting the top of my foot. All right. I went to the convention last year, and I was sitting with this one guy that I already knew. Somehow we got on the subject about we could talk about anything. He's like, I don't talk about politics or religion, and because they're real personal. And we ended up talking about politics and religion, and we didn't get into a fight. And then when I came up with this saying that you can talk to reasonable people about anything. You just can't have a conversation with people that are on a crusade. And it doesn't really matter what the crusade is, but if people are unreasonable and they're just like, well, this is the way it is and I don't respect your opinion, then you really can't deal with anybody who's that way, regardless of what it is that they think of. If they think that little of you, then you probably don't need to be interacting with them anyways. And that's really the minority of people, but it's the majority of people that are really loud and boisterous. Usually the ones that are unreasonable. It's like, this is the way it is, I mean, unless you say something positive about communism, I'm pretty much good with it, just about anything that comes out of your mouth, And I could say other things, but, there's nobody out there, really, proponents of other isms generally. That are just downright evil that I have encountered. Okay, here's the back plate. It's Anthony Channel. Okay, cool. I'll check it out. I haven't figured out what rules they're using, but the game recap I saw was impressive. I think they're doing the homebrew rules. Well, then you can do whatever you want, and nobody can say anything about it, I encountered lots of people that are like, oh, I like games with lots of figures. And I'm like, yeah, people that sell figures like those too. Did you ever notice any rules that are made by people that are manufacturers of figures? They always have, oh, you gotta buy lots and lots of figures. Well, that's because you make them, dude. And I get it. There's some people that like lots and lots of figures. And I don't actually mind spending the money on them. I just don't have the time or energy to devote that much to one particular thing. Before we cut these out, let's trim these guys up. What I really hate is when someone tells you that your opinion is wrong on something and that has no quantitative data behind it. What I hate is when people are obsessed with the fact that the politician they like, their poop doesn't stink and they never do anything wrong, and your guy does everything wrong. And I'm telling you, everybody does everything wrong. They all suck. And if you can't get behind, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular, I'm just talking about everybody at once. If you have this attitude that, I can forgive the sins of my guy because, he's the one that's my chosen one and he can break the rules and do whatever the hell he wants and double speak, and you're fine with him being corrupt because it's supposedly in your interest, then you're part of the problem. So, I'm not naming anybody in particular because it's really all of them in particular. I don't care if people have quantitative data. We're not all the same. We weren't raised the same way. We don't have the same genes, and all right, this little guy's done. But I proved him wrong. We can't. I don't talk about politics or religion. We talked about both, and we didn't hate each other or come to blows or. Didn't try to convert each other. I don't really feel that strongly about either one. Just can't have a conversation with people that are on a crusade. Doesn't matter what the crusade is. Hey Tony, what time period was that naval game at the convention you mentioned playing a lot of the 4th edition rules? So that's a game called Siegfried, and if you look at the book, it actually says 1880. I believe it's 1880 to 1945. That's what the rule set was. 4th edition, we played it a lot, but I basically did World War One and World War Two with it. That's the only periods I got into. But the Siegfried 5 is just it's the next iteration of it. It's been out since 2005. I have the rules. It's as thick as the face of battle. It's actually thicker than the face of battle. And it's not counterintuitive. I'm probably never going to play it. Now, Joe plays it a lot. I still consider myself a naval gamer. But I don't play that at the show because it's a game that can last a really long time, which I don't mind, but I don't like playing an unfinished game. You know, that's not my thing. I'm not one of those people that I'm bored, you know. Well, if it's a period I'm really interested in, I don't get bored because it's something I'm really interested in. But having to call a game that's not even close to being over is not the kind of game I want to really participate in. But that's definitely a game that I would say you have to have a relationship with the ships, an understanding of the ships, and a liking of the ships to be interested in the game. I think that if you just weren't didn't know a lot about the ships, it wouldn't make a very good game. I'm just thinking, you know, you don't have to. I'm just saying, you know, it would be like me playing ACW. Why am I playing an ACW game? I don't even like them. I don't like the history of the American Civil War. You know, like why collect baseball cards if you don't give a shit about baseball? I'm sure it's an exception. I don't think there's too many people collecting baseball cards that aren't into baseball. That's a game I'm really familiar with. Fourth edition, very familiar with it. I could pick it up. I still have it. I could pick it up and run a game of it tomorrow. You know, it's very. It makes a lot of sense. You know, and I've played it a lot. Well, not compared to DBA, I haven't, but that pretty much goes for everything. I've probably played it 150 times. That's all we used to play. Maybe even more than 150. We played it a lot. How does a game of fourth edition play out? Well, almost everybody back then used to. You could do a couple different ways. You could do the hit probability. Well, first of all, it's a percentile game, okay? You're rolling 2d10s. The entire game is percentile, which is what I'm used to. But basically, way it works out is if you're playing a range estimation game, for every turret you have, you get a guess of a range. And if you get it right, then you can either get a free hit, which some people would say they roll for a free hit, and then you roll for any extra hits, or you have to roll to see if you get a hit if you get close. The problem that system has, looking back on it, is as a human, there's some ranges that you're just more accurate, and this can vary per person, that you're more accurate to guess the range at that really have no correlation in reality with the scale of the game. So what exactly am I trying to say? I'm saying that it is just as easy to guess something away when your ship is 60 inches away as it is if it was like 14 inches away. It's just as easy. But yet in real life, the ship would have a hell of a lot easier time hitting something 14 inches away than 60 inches. The scale of the game, the normal scale of the game is 4 inches is a nautical mile. So even if you're playing with 1/6000 scale ships, which we weren't at the time, we're playing with 1/2400. 1/6000 scale ships, I think, still are like 3 times too big compared to the actual game scale. But we used to play with range estimation, and you'd bust your brain. So every turn you had, you'd get one guess, and you would either guess solid inches or half inches. So like, let's say, you were extreme range, say maximum visibility was 60 inches, and you think you just saw them. So you had like, a turret, say like the Bismarck, right? You got 4 turrets, A, B, X, Y. You would get 4 guesses. You'd guess like maybe 59 and a half, 59, 58 and a half, 58. And then everybody would guess that for every turret that they had that was within range. Obviously, you can only go as far as your turrets could go, as the guns could range. And then you would, you'd measure, and then if you ride it, you would circle it. And then, when it's time to roll for your hits, you'd tell the game master, which was always me in my group. And then we would figure out what the probability of hit them. Then you figure out how many shells it hits. And then comes the fun part. You roll hit location, and then you have to penetrate the hit location, and then you have a chance for getting a critical and the damage that it does. The way the damage worked in that area was basically the displacement of the ship times, I want to say 0.033 or something like that. So you would have, destroyers would have anywhere between 40 to 80 damage points. And battleships would have anywhere between, something like the Bismarck would have like 1,300 damage points. 1,396, I think, or something like that. And the new system uses something a little bit different. But that's how it was. So it's just a matter of doing enough damage. And you lose things along the way. So, the ship sinks when you run out of DP. Or when you get a critical that causes you a magazine explosion, or worse. It could be, you could be like, okay, you do 70 damage from this and then roll for criticals. Oh, okay, you got it. All right, what does a critical do? Triple damage. Okay, so now you take an extra, another 210 points of damage or whatever. That's how it is. And the guns were all proportional. So when you lost an eighth, if you had 8 main guns, when you lost an eighth of your damage points, you would automatically lose a gun. You would randomly determine which one it is. Along with, you could have criticals that could, make you lose guns along the way. So that's pretty much the meat and potatoes of it. You lose speed in the same way. When you're half gone, you're half as fast. A little primitive, maybe by today's standards, because you could have a situation like Bismarck in real life that we think that, and I say we think that because there's still kind of a lot of things that are kind of up in the air. We think that her guns went silent and she was still making speed. She wasn't even close to being sunk and her guns were all silent. She get a critical where she lost power to the turrets or to the that kind of stuff could cause it. But everything was totally random. So, for instance, it wasn't a game where the hood is famous for blowing up. It's not like if you use the hood, you're more likely to blow up. Now, it's every ship has the same percentage of that technically happening. Now, assuming it's a penetrating hit, you could get a bunch of hits on a ship that just do damage, and they hit like somewhere that doesn't have really nasty criticals. Seems like a real depth game. It is and isn't. It paints a pretty good narrative. But it's just a kind of a game that I don't think that would appeal to somebody who doesn't get excited about, oh, that looks like the Scharnhorst, or that looks like, Rodney. Like, they don't know. If you don't know that, from many years of, I just don't see where there would be a big appeal to playing the game. It'd be like me playing a football game and I don't know any of the players, you know? But at least at the time, it was the most detailed naval game. It may still be. The version 5 may be the most detailed naval game. That's fine. Don't play don't use it for Jutland, you know? But it works really good with Battle River Platte, Denmark Strait. Anything with like 3 or 4 ships works really well. Obviously, I've played games that had a lot more than 3 or 4 ships, but I didn't have some kind of a time constraint where, you know, we got to be done by a certain time, no matter what. But I started playing that when I was like 16 years old. Nowhere near as complicated as something like DBA, because it's not abstract at all. But I just can't imagine somebody being interested in it if they just had a passing interest in the subject. There's other rule sets like Command at Sea. There's only 2 armor factors, horizontal and a vertical for everything. Man, Siegfried 4 had deck armor, belt armor, superstructure, turret, conning tower, you know. And then we actually added some own house rules to, belt ends, you know. Thinking about using a dark brown primer on these ACW miniatures would save a lot of time painting their hair, shoes, and rifle stocks. You're painting ACW guys? I don't remember. You must have said that you were. I may look at getting a quote for the that stuff. Only because I'm tired of looking at it. I'm just never going to get around to play it. Did you watch the walkthrough video of the show? There's somebody was selling a copy of Battle Masters, which I remember that game was a pain from the standpoint of like you want to move them and the guys would fall off the stand. You have to stick them back on there. Most viewers saw some hex and counter games I would have been interested in. Yeah, there was actually quite a few hex and counter games. I just have trouble. I just should never buy a hex and counter game. It's not because I don't like them, because a lot of them actually look really good. I just don't have the energy to sit down and try to learn it. Now, I would buy a lot of those games that are on computer, because I can just, watch it, play a tutorial, and then roll with it. And there was one game that was being played Saturday night that I forgot to go over there and take a picture of it. I never even saw what they were doing, what it looked like. But it was in Afghanistan. It was British and Russians. And I just flat out forgot. Game games part of established systems. I don't need to constantly learn new rules or go with games. I don't have a huge rule book. You kept throwing your wallet at the screen during that walkthrough. There was just about everything Borg was selling, I thought was priced really well. He's a super nice guy, and he has a lot of energy. He's a very dynamic personality. He's always happy. He's like one of the happiest people I've ever seen, at least in person. He's got a really good attitude. So. I only ever had one of his games and I sold it because I never played it. And I think Mitch had it. I'm like, why do I even have this thing? I sold it at the flea market. Sold it for fleas. The other realization I came to is, and we're talking about different gameplay styles. So I was plugging people like, okay, what does this person play like? What do I play like? You know, what does Mitch play like? I think everybody at the local game group, we all kind of have a different play. I don't really know how Mitch plays, but then when somebody said, "Yeah, he plays like this," I'm like, "Yeah, I guess he does." He's a planner, like he waits to have all the things in place before he attacks. I'm not. I play pretty conservative, but I like to control the pace of the battle. So, GMT should be releasing an updated deluxe version of Alexander game. I have. I'm waiting for that sucker to drop so I can get it. Yeah, I'd probably like that game if I pick up Sunday board games. Richard Borg's booth. I would have lost my mind buying things in the Miniature Building Authority booth. Yeah, almost everything they have is 28 millimeters, so I have no use for that. They're there every show. I think they're from the Atlanta area. They're there every show, and I got some bits from them. I should paint some of them. I will soon. We start working on boards and things like that. I managed to not buy a board, a mat. I think I did the right thing. I'm just going to use the one I have. It's not like, I actually don't mind. It actually looks good. It's a little too thin, but that's okay. But the color of it works with the stands really, really well. So I think it'll be fine. It's just, you know, just a bit disappointing how all that happened. Alexander game runs the same game engine in Great Battles Julius Caesar. Yep. I don't get excited about buying stuff anymore. But Richard Borg was the one that sold those 7 Russian tanks, or technically 6.5, for $5. I'm like, there's no way I'm leaving them here, because first of all, you spent $78 on sleeves because you don't have kids. Hey, it doesn't matter as long as you use the sleeves. It's money well spent. You know, if you buy $78 on sleeves and never use them, that's stupid. If you use what you buy, no worries. I have a set of sleeves too, and I can't think what they're for. I want to say they're Hero Quest stuff. I want to say they're for the Hero Quest stuff, which I haven't played in a long time. I guess at some point we should probably mess with that again and just make our own rules. Still use the clicky bases, but a different way of doing initiative. Because that pretty much sucks the way they do initiative. It's way too predictable. Skyrim board game. I would think that would play a lot like Talisman. Did I cut the wrong pieces out? I may have. Meaning these. Yep. No worries. I get excited. Get excited talking to you guys. Here it is. Here's the pieces. Rick, you got anybody in your circle that gives you something for Christmas, and you're wondering, man, I wish you just wouldn't have given me anything at all. Because it's like they're just clueless, and they just, I hate people buying me stuff that I'm never going to use. It just makes me feel bad. Like if somebody says, "Oh, you like games? Awesome! I got a great one for you." Okay, so I end up getting something Catan. No, I'm not playing Catan. I'd rather play chess. Would I? Yeah, probably. God, I hated that game. I'm always surprised by people that give me stuff that's just like, look, it's so easy. Just give me no wood for the sheep. No, no. First of all, it looks like shit. Okay, it looks like shit, and there's just no, I'm not playing that. Look, in this day and age, is really easy. I don't know what to get you. Give me an Amazon gift card. You know, made Facebook posts before. So New Year's approaches. There, I'm not doing presents this year. Amazon gift card, man. Starbucks gift card. Terrible, terrible things like thrift store finds. I don't like it when you go somewhere. I'm sure you've gotten one of these, Rick. You have somebody. Let's say it's your mom. I'm not saying your mom's one of these people, but let's talk about Rick's mom. Now, I'm sure she's a fine lady. But let's say she goes on a trip, okay? And let's say she goes to Bolivia, all right? And she goes to Bolivia and she buys some trinket from Bolivia that's a memento of her trip for Bolivia. That has zero significance for you. You weren't there. It doesn't remind you of the. It doesn't remind you of a trip you didn't take. You know, I don't like when people go to other places and buy you things that you're supposed to put on a wall that have no meaning to you because you weren't there on that trip, and all of a sudden they want you to put it on a wall and they have a mismatched decor. You know, if her gift card's that way, I can get what I want. The person give them to and get what they want. I came in just in time to talk about Rick's. I'm sure she's a fine lady. Why did Stacy's mom start playing in my head? Rick's mom has going. No, you can talk about anybody's mother. You just have to be careful how you go about it. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, people go and I'm about to get something just like that from a friend who was just in Vegas for a bowling tournament, and then they got me something, probably a shot glass, I assume. But it has. I'm all for getting mementos of a trip. I like going on cruise ships and getting the hat of the cruise ship. But you know what? I was on that freaking cruise, right? I mean, it's like, oh, I remember. Remember when it's like, here's an award for a tournament that you didn't even play in. Like, what? Oh, I want you to put it on the wall, by the way. You bowl Rick. Yep, you got Rick bowled. I have a lone shot glass on my bookshelf. A University of Pittsburgh shot glass to be precise. Did you go there? Pitt. Like the bowling movie Kingpin. I haven't seen it in so long. So long. You know what movie I need to see again? Same time period as Kingpin is The Fisher King. You're indeed an alumni of Pitt. They're the Panthers, right? I think they're the Panthers. What are their colors? Are they Steeler colors? I think there's something like that. I hear, but yeah, that bastard was loud too. It's probably a mockingbird. And just so you know, Florida went ahead and took the hit for you guys, and I don't know whoever decided to name the state bird a mockingbird, which it is a sadist because those guys are assholes, absolute assholes. I was in a grocery store. I hit the grocery store on the way home, and there was a chirp in there. I don't think it was a. It wasn't an animal. It was just like something that was sounded really, really loud, just repetitively. And you can only hear it like once every 15 seconds, but that's pretty often. Color shirt, really close to the blue I'm talking about. Oh, what blue did you say? Is that a pit blue? This is like almost like the Nittany Lions blue. And where exactly is Nittany? Ah, Nittany. Nyah, nyah. You want to see something funny? Go search for worst college mascots. There are some shit ones out there. Oh my gosh, some embarrassing stuff. Okay. All right, this one goes like this. Dozen Penn State games and never to a Pitt game. You know what's sad? I don't really follow sports, but if you'd say Nittany Lions, the first thing I think of is Paterno and that guy that got fired for or in trouble for doing stuff to those to his team. I don't even know his name, but that's notoriety for you. Mr. Patriot, welcome. Hey, please confirm only one division level micro armor game at Recon. One ping only. Yes, Vasily. Only one. Yeah, just one. I really liked the size of that game. Actually, what I really liked was that the units had the unit markers of the division. Yeah, just one. It was some Battle of the Bulge thing. One ping, Vasily. Had a coworker that would always bring that up. I remember seeing that movie in the movie theater with my dad, which is strange because I didn't go to the movies with many things with my dad. The only movies I can remember seeing with my dad was that one, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. We saw that one as a family. We saw Apocalypto as a family in the movie theater, and that's probably it. My parents really didn't go to movies much. I really have no interest in going to the movie theater again. I'm not saying that I'm not going to. It's just, between the cost and most importantly, it's, I like to drink things a lot. I like to, I like to be sipping on things. And, you got to be careful how much you drink or you end up having this, go to the bathroom and you don't go and then you're uncomfortable for a good portion of the movie. Were each stand in that divisional game a division or was it a platoon per stand? In that game, I believe, I could be wrong, okay? I think each battalion had a stand. So like for instance, if you did like Panzer or something like that, you would have one Panzer IV and one Panther and, one Stug, that kind of thing. So a division probably would have been represented by 6 or 8 different stands. That you got the whole division out of that. It looked cool. The board looked really, really cool. But I kind of asked him about it. Some people they're kind of in the middle of a game and they're like unfriendly that you're even coming by. I'm like, I just I like to do it because some people, especially folks in Europe, they have no idea what the games here are like. Well, they have an idea, but I was telling my wife I actually had something happen that never happened to me before. I was Facebook friends with someone, and then I met them, and really hit it off really well with them. I played a game. They were on the other side. They were my opponent, and I really enjoyed playing the game with them. It was in the Lion Rampant game, and I liked. And I was basically I had already played one whole game of it, so I was more familiar with it than they were. And we were just walking through. Okay, now we're going to do this, and this is why I'm doing it. Kind of like how I do on the DBA videos. I explain why I'm doing things, which some people are like baffled, like, why are you giving away your plan? And I'm like, because it's fun to, talk about it out loud. There's still dice involved and stuff. Yeah, it was either a battalion for each unit or each unit was a regiment. I don't know what set of rules it was. I guess I could look in the PEL and find out what it is. I have a feeling it's probably a homegrown set of rules. Micro Armor is dead in the U.S. It certainly seems that way. Um, and if it is, the reason I wouldn't want to do Micro Armor is because infantry just don't look very exciting. I know it's super expensive, okay, and that's a reason, but if it looked awesome, nobody goes and plays, a Micro Armor game and goes, oh, I can't wait to run an infantry battalion. And it's not because an infantry battalion is boring, it's just because they're not, okay, what's going on here? This is no bueno. Oh, there we go. We got it fit in there. It's just because they just don't, the counters to be the right size, you can't put enough figures on them to be interesting. If you have a counter with like 6 or 8 guys on it that would represent a company or whatever, you know. I saw a hex counter game with miniature. I saw a hex game with miniatures that I absolutely hated, and it was a guy that I didn't play in it, but I saw Joel and Mitch really liked it. But it was a game where they converted using Epic, Games Workshop Epic game, and put it in turned it into like almost like a Command and Colors type thing. But each hex, I couldn't see them. They weren't printed on there, and they were kind of like done with terrain. So it was like all this terrain that was on the board, but it was just to delineate where the hexes started and ended. And I did not like that look at all. It wasn't for me. Put this in first. This is a case that I shouldn't have put this thing in yet. There you go. Let's just open that up a little bit and then we'll put it back down. Oh, I'm a damn fool. We've been telling you all along, Tony. Yeah, I'm just getting excited about socializing with folks and not paying enough attention to this. That's okay. That's what we're here for. I think it was a game. I don't know. I don't know, David. I don't know right off the bat which one of the two it was. But it didn't have the actual lines on it, which is a plus. But instead what they did is it marked like the center point, and you went from point, it was almost like they had like a little bush in the center point of each one. So it was like, you had to like squint your brain to process where every hex was. I didn't care for it. I didn't care for it. A lot of 3D World War II models at Recon were they selling. Yeah, it's they did, but it was a lot of 28 millimeter stuff. Man, they had a lot of 28 millimeter stuff, and not a lot of Flames of War. Not a lot of Flames of War. Only one vendor had Flames of War stuff. I'm just not one for bolt action. I watched a video and I'm like, this is not for me. And I saw a game of it being played, and it just looked weird. It just looked weird. Things were too close, and I've heard that the vehicles are all the same, and they're in classes, like all heavy tanks behave the same or something like that. At least that's what someone told me. Like, I'm the wrong audience for that. And they said they claimed in those 3D printed models they had some 20 millimeter stuff. The only thing I found in there was they had a Dicker Max. Okay, I don't need a Dicker Max. Dicker Max sounds like somebody who's not well and something somebody would like that's not well endowed. I need to go get a Dicker Max to feel better about myself. Nah, it's a cool vehicle, self-propelled cannon. But they only made a handful of them, and I mean a very like, God, I want to say like on 210 or less, maybe even less than that. Flames Wars, as popular as it once was, they also destroy almost all their extensive range and are slow to get new miniatures out. Is it me or some of the bolt action players overly sarcastic with you? What the heck is a Dicker Max? A Dicker Max is like a Panzer IV hull with a 105 millimeter field gun that was used in early 42. I'll pull it up right here. And I'm not surprised that you don't know what it is because it's an obscure weapon. It looks cool. It's a good looking weapon. But they wanted $20 for it. I'm like, I'm not paying $20 for one thing that I don't need, you know? Dicker Max, let's find. This thing's awesome, or it used to be way back in the day. Encyclopedia of German Tanks of World War II. And they have similar things for the Allies, but it's not as detailed as this one. We will find Mr. Dicker Max, and we'll go right to the Diana. Another weird item. Lady Diana. Maltier. Let's see, let me find this. We're in half tracks. Should be at the end of the Panzer IV stuff. Here it is. I believe this is what it is. It doesn't say Dicker Max on it. It's something that's like this. This vehicle at the bottom left. It's a 105 millimeter howitzer on a Panzer IV hull, and it's not turreted. It looks like it's turreted. It's got a casement, and I believe that's what it is. 8 produced in November 42. Troop tested in Russia. Has a 105 millimeter howitzer, 28 caliber. So it has the same howitzer that like a STU, an STUH 42 would have. Were some of the bolt action players overly sarcastic? I don't know. Some people get offended when you're filming stuff. I'm like, I'm not gonna film it and make you look like an idiot unless you open your mouth and you say that. I mean, you know. Gamers largely get on my nerves. Most need to discover the shower. Didn't smell any this time. If the GM at each table would have provided a quick game intro and introduced themselves, would have made Tony's video better. Yeah, I do. I know most people that can. I've been going to it for 20 years, and most people are pretty decent. You can hear what the noise level is in the back. I don't want to disrupt the game, you know, and sometimes I have my own game that's going on, so I need to get back to my own game also. You know, I don't want to leave people hanging, and that's not me even running any. I was just a player in the games I was doing, so you know, that's kind of the best I can do at the time period. But it would have been nice to. I wish I had gone to Historicon and had kind of an interview. I don't want to be a media personality. It's not really my thing, but I do know quite a bit about this hobby, and I don't mind sharing my love that I have for it with other folks. And I would have liked to have interviewed some of the people that were vendors, you know, and asked them about the hobby and different things. But, you know, there's just not enough time to do all that kind of stuff. you know. And some people just wouldn't like it. I mean, like the Little Wars guys, I was filming their stuff, and they were like freaked out. They were like, a couple of them were almost acting like, like I had caught them, looking at child porn. It was just really weird. It was, because like on you think people that are used to being filmed would be like, super friendly, but they were like, I don't know. And it's funny, the one guy that I did talk to a lot, I think in video he comes across as being not very friendly in the videos I've seen, and he was freaking awesome, in real life. I actually really appreciate people that are a certain way in real life and they're a certain way in the video, and that certain way is the same way. I just believe in being real. I would like to think that if you get to meet me, I'm the same way that I am on this show, So they do a lot of editing on their videos. Yeah, I don't do any. That takes a lot of time, I guarantee that the person, I don't know this for a fact, but I would bet money that the person that's editing their videos doesn't produce any miniatures content. They don't paint or anything, because I know how much it takes a lot of effort, a lot. And the only reason to edit it is because some people have freaking short attention spans and they can't handle waiting an extra 5 seconds for something. But those people are never going to be happy. You're not going to cure them of their short attention span by catering to their needs and editing videos that are so succinct, that you're constantly waving like, hey, look at this over here. Hey, look at this over here. Look, like the people when they do an interview, right? And they do, and it looks really cool. You're interviewing a person and they're head on like this, like I am right now in the short one. And then they'll cut to a thing, and it's just a tiny little variance in the distance. So it'll be like, well, I really want to talk about wargaming, and then it'll cut to something a little bit closer like that, and then a little later it'll do it. And it's just, they always tinker. That takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of extra processing that whatever processor you're using to crunch the video together really messes with that. It's just not worth it. That's the stuff that's going to burn me out from doing videos. And yes, I could do better videos, but that's not what I'm all about. Just think that would be the equivalent of me just like, I'm going to paint things, but F it. I'm just going to use spray paint and just dip everything. So I'm kind of I'm a dipper when it comes to putting out video content. Like they own the video access at Historicon. You have 1,000 games under your belt. I don't want to be nasty to people. I think it would be, I'm not really a groupie type person, the person that's the most quote unquote famous that I've ever run into, and it's not many that I've encountered, is there's this guy, I was at a car show, and last October, and I ran into a guy who does car reviews on YouTube, and I'm a big fan of his. He's, I think, extremely impartial. He does a really, really good job, and I think he does that for a living. And I got to talk to him for about 5 minutes, and unfortunately, I couldn't talk to him longer. But I love the fact that he was the same in person as he was on video. I appreciate that so much. No, but they seem arrogant at Cold Wars. Well, I don't know. I just thought it was really strange that they seemed kind of skittish when I was filming. I don't know. Like I said, the one guy that I talked to for a bit, I had no intention to go in there and interview him because I'm small change. It's not like, oh, Tony's trying to get more videos by interviewing people that are... But it's kind of cool, to see people that, you see in real life. They're always going to have better content and stuff. They're into a bunch of different periods that I'm not into. But it was funny because one of the people, like I said, that was kind of not super friendly, in my opinion, on videos, ended up being like a great guy in person. And the guys that are like super friendly on the videos were almost kind of like, oh, they're filming. Let's just look down. Like, dude, I'm not going to misrepresent you. Maybe they have an experience with somebody that did try to misrepresent them, and that's probably not very cool. Hold on 1 second. Okay, and unfortunately, that's the curtain call. Like I said, we needed to go visit some family friends that are here, and they're only going to be here for a few days, so we didn't get to see them yesterday. But I have 100% more war game mods. Well, I don't know about that, but thank you, Patriot. I appreciate you. Um, I generally don't have anything bad to say about people as long as they have the right attitude. You know, I think we all have something that we can offer to the wargaming as a whole. But on that note, we are going to have to cut this one off, and we'll probably be back on tomorrow or the next day, and we'll pick up where we left off. As always, thanks, folks, for stopping by.